All right, let's get into those issues now. Joining me, Sky's political editor, Andrew Clennell. Well, let's talk about power prices. Let's talk about the politics, not so much the policy detail. I think we can argue that uphill and down dale. But now that the coalition has got a policy difference with Labor, I think there's ground here for this to be absolutely front and centre with punters. We know that hardship payments have increased. We know people are struggling with their power bills. We look at that stuff today in the News Corp papers. They've done some analysis work between what Labor promised on energy and the lived reality for households. Have a look at this chart. It's on the screen now. The pink lines are what Labor modelled. That's what they said they would deliver on power prices, and that's right across the country. But the blue is what people are actually paying. So, Andrew, it's not an easy fix for Labor here on this issue. And, of course, they're going to ramp up these targets. It's going to get harder in terms of the price pain for voters. So how does the government navigate this?
I don't think they know. Look, honestly, it's not that easy. It's not a quick fix thing. They put the Band-Aid on it. They've masked it, right? It's like putting makeup on your face on a scar, Peter. But once the makeup comes off, it's still there. That's what the rebates did, and that's what this AER report showed. $1,300 in rebates in Queensland have just come off. $1,300 a year. Just like that, state and federal. And they're going to take this other rebate off. They're going to, promise a gas reservation. But is that really going to make a difference? And one of the big issues is the network costs. If you move from a coal approach to a renewables approach, you've got to roll out all these poles and wires. That's got to be paid for in our electricity bills. Oh, yeah. And
we've been arguing this on this show for a decade now, but I guess the problem for the government is that their salesman is Chris Bowen. I think people now, the rubber's hit the road absolutely with the bills. They've had 2 elections where Labor's promised a cut in prices. That cut's not manifested. In fact, as you're pointing out, it's gotten a whole lot worse. They've had this papering over the cracks with rebates. They have now dissipated, so the pain will now be increased. How do they navigate it politically? I mean, do they have to move Bowen on? Do they have to change the salesman? Do they pull back some of the emissions targets and slow the pain? Is that what they do?
I honestly have no idea, but they probably need to get more coal-fired power into the daily sort of system. And maybe you do that, encourage a regulator to do that on the quiet. And the other thing is maybe you do need to slow your rollout of the networks, but maybe you need to do that on the quiet. And of course, the gas reservation, that will probably help a little bit, but there's no quick fix for them. So really what we're going to look at is a situation where they try and ride it out and try and stop the bills going up further. They're never getting them down now. They're never getting them down. They've got to stop them going up further. And then the only pressure that will really work, and it's a slow burn, these things, will be news poll pressure, frankly, Peter. If the opposition can get to a scenario where it's 48-52, and they were quick to tell me, the opposition this morning, by the way, I look at this red bridge, we're 54-46, not 56-44. Well, that's great, guys. Your primary's still about 26. But if you get that sort of news poll pressure, polling pressure, if the opposition can stay disciplined and together, and Lee has started to perform better. So if they want to roll Lee, they need to make it quick at some point next year, right? They've got to get behind her until they feel it's hopeless for her. So they've got to stay united so they can keep the focus on the government. The government has no quick fix, I'm pretty sure. I mean, they could try price caps again. They could try all these different measures. But the evidence is in that what's really kind of kept the pressure off is the rebates. And the rebates have to come off. Otherwise, you may as well just have government paying everyone's electricity bill and so, just blowing the budget completely.
I tell you what, if Labor thought that would win them the next election, do not rule it out. There's not a dollar of our money that they will not spend for a political outcome. I have seen this for many years. But I guess one of the things that concerns me, you look at the jobs data, you look at the lack of productivity growth in this country, you look at the RBA governor's speeches in recent times and minutes from the meeting, we've got real pressure there in the economy. We've got what I'd call sort of the old economy, the big manufacturing jobs, they're on their way out because we haven't got affordable power in this country. Our resources, we're saying we can't use it here, but We don't really want to have to export it either. We're winding back some of that stuff to our peril. And then the new economy is information technology and all the stuff we talk about, and data centres are key in all of that, Andrew. But they are, if you think the electricity system is hungry now, a data centre is nothing compared to, say, a smelter. We think smelters are bad. Well, data centres are extraordinary. And everyone out there now is saying, hang on, maybe we need to put the brakes on emissions, these emissions targets, because if we do not do that in Australia, we are not going to get in the game of data. So is that the fig leaf that the government grabs onto?
Who knows? But you raise a good point about the rebates, and maybe they take them off now and then a year and a half out, they whack a huge one on, you know. But if you want to see stressed, I reckon have a look at the Jim Chalmers and Katie Gallagher at the moment. You can see it on their faces, Peter. Whereas Albanese's not stressed at all when you look at him. Because they know they're the ones who have to somehow rein in this budget, deliver all these spending promises, and ultimately the energy rebates fall into their purview as well. And they've got to, you know, they've got to deliver the promises. They've got to get the states on board the NDIS. They're struggling with that. And they've got to cut the budget. And they said they wouldn't do public service cuts. Well, we all know.
And
we
they've
both
got
know
the
they're going to do
mess.
that. Yeah, that's what I mean. The state hospitals, NDIS. So, you know, they're ageing daily. Poor old Jim Chalmers and Katie Gallagher, because, and just one other thing, inflation's back up. And when you take the rebates off and, you know, help your budget, then inflation comes back up. Like, there's a lot of headaches. The one thing they absolutely have going for them, as you know, is historically low unemployment. So at least there's that for them. It could be even worse. But it's not a healthy situation. And the problem is they had that thumping victory, but with their promises, they paid for it. They paid for the victory. And now perhaps we'll pay for it.
Well, and just on the Prime Minister, I want to make the point too. He is now in the history books for Labor. He does not need to go around again. The reason why he's happy and smiling and off on his honeymoon is he doesn't have to worry about any of this. You know, like, he has his legacy in place in history security, the Labor pantheon. He can walk out, he leaves the mess for somebody else. Thank you very much. See you later. He doesn't have to worry about it. So I think that's exactly what may happen.
Yes, but I mean, look, I could be, you can change my mind on this, but don't you think he will go around just one last time and then maybe...
Well, because he's got that seat buffer, yes, I think that would be attractive.
Yeah.
That seat buffer, he could take a significant haircut and still survive. But I think leaving with his legacy where it is, he's in his 60s now, he's just got married, he's bought that beautiful place up on the coast. I think he's going to want to enjoy leaving out on a high after that many years. We'll see. We'll see.
In which case, I'll make this prediction, if you don't mind. He'll run again, and then he'll retire after, and then he will be the first Prime Minister since, I think, Menzies to do that. Because they all get dragged out in a box usually, don't they?
They do. They do.
Metaphorically speaking.
Leave it there. We'll leave it there. Thanks, Andrew.